Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Charts and Coffee. I'm Raghee Horner. Thanks as always for joining us for some charts, some nice caffeine, and of course your questions answered. All right, so without any further ado, let's get to it. Let me get on over to the questions, and we have kicking things off. Let's see, Matt. How are you doing, Matt? Let's get the charts up here too. Boom, there we go. You said that every Monday, me or someone from Simpler would be doing live trading. Oh, okay. So I'll be doing the live. So are you talking about in the futures room? So yes, it's supposed to be. I'll be on every other Monday. So next Monday, and yeah, for sure, it's a great reminder. Next Monday, that would be what is the date? The 29th. All right, next Monday, the 29th, I will be, looking at my handy dandy little, by the way, I throw a lot of my schedule in this thing. I've been keeping the stock almanac trader on my desk for many, many years, and I'll put all sorts of things in here. OPEC meetings. We have the OPEC meeting. I've already written that down on April 1. So anyways, yes, on the 29th, I'll be dual broadcasting the Simpler Futures Open, which means you get to join me for a morning of day trading. So that'll be next Monday. All right. Next up is, I just like watching trading stuff on my free time. Hey, I love it. You know, Matt, on the weekends, unless it's football season, I love this, right? I'm looking at charts. I'm coding something up. Yeah, I love this game we get to play called trading. And it is a game. There's winners or losers. There's a scoreboard. There's rules. There's an opponent. Yeah, absolutely. All right. Hey there, Nige. Good morning from Australia. Well, welcome or good evening. How is my Omega chair holding up? Okay. My secret lab. You guys can see that there. I love it. I love it. They just came out with a Batman. I have to contain myself for a moment. A Batman version, I believe it was. I love this chair. Nige, yeah, I love the chair. I don't know if you know, you can see it in the background. My husband's got the Titan, so we're an Omega family. One of my members recommended it, the Secret Lab chair, and they have different sizes for tall, medium, short. There's a smaller one than this one. I'm not that tall. I'm not tall at all, but for 5'5", this is a great chair. But yeah, I'm super happy with it. It's holding up very well. I'm in it an inordinate amount of hours per day. And so, yes, thank you for asking. A good chair is really important. And I've been very, very happy with this one. All right, next up is, and you know what I do love? Is it, and for those of you that may not know, it goes absolutely flat. So if I'm watching a video or a class and I just want to relax, I can just lean it back, watch my monitors, and yeah, can you tell I love this chair? I really do. I will say for a short period of time, I started to slouch in it. So if you're working, I would really recommend just sitting this thing up because it's so darn comfortable. I started to slouch for a little while, but now I've gotten my good sitting habits back. All right. Let's see. Let me grab the next question. And we take a look at SAVE. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's jump on over to SAVE. Let me get my 1,000 journals out of the way. All right. So SAVE. All right. SAVE, as far as the airlines. Look, airlines have been, if there's anything that I feel that I missed putting in my portfolio last year, it was probably jets. To make a bet that no one's ever going to fly again. Jets had about, I don't know, under 100 million assets under management, or maybe it was a small amount. And now assets under management is somewhere over 4 billion. So clearly, but you throw SAVE into that narrative. So now we're playing an individual boat in this larger tide called the airlines. It's an uptrend. It's hard to bet against many of these reopening trades. The pullback is tempting, but this is where, aside from airlines, this is the thing to keep in mind. we haven't seen it in a while. There's another, I mean, look, we're dealing with rebalancing as we would any end of quarter, which becomes a caution time of the month. The other thing to remember is that typically the last 3 to 8 days, we tend to see redemptions anyways of each month. And we have the rebalancing adding to that this particular month. We also just finished, obviously triple witching, quad witching. And with now, as if that isn't more enough to deal with quarter in and quarter out, now we have this TNX. I'm going to throw this up here. Now we have this yield curve conversation happening. In yesterday's premium video that you'll find, yesterday's free video, so you don't even have to be a member, that I did over at Simpler Trading, I did a deep dive into this conversation. What have these yields done to the broader market? So it's not to say that I don't like SAVE. I like it very much. Just whatever positions you're taking right now, the second half of the month, and now going into the end of the quarter, just be aware of the volatility that we're likely to see. And I think that we're back into a short gamma situation. We haven't been in this in some time. Maybe in one of these charts and coffees, we can talk a little bit about what that means. But nonetheless, it's going to make the end of the month even more of a heck of a rodeo ride than normal. But I do like the structure. I mean, trend or no trend, definitely trend. So thank you for the question. Hey there, Jan. What's the bumper music? I have no recollection. I bought the license for this and the bumper or intro music for the free videos as well from a website some time ago. I don't recall. My apologies. It's from one of those sites that you can buy the license from. A lot of talented musicians will put these clips, and I just happen to like that one. Next up is my thoughts on Dick's Sporting Good. Good structure. The last time we saw some higher volatility was going into earnings. Do we have any significant volume levels in this area? I can't say there's any more an advantage at where we're at, other than having traded down into the wave, other than perhaps trading down into the March VWAP, the March anchored VWAP, which is that lighter of the two shaded blue lines. And then let's also re-anchor our 10-day rolling moving average, or VWAP. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What happens when your 10-day lands on a Sunday? I'm just going to go back to the previous Friday. So we're going to anchor the 10-day to the 12th. All right. And so we are under the rolling 10-day. We're sitting on top of the 1 month anchored. So we're in an interesting little, almost like a little vice grip. We're stuck in a range. And I think another way to identify that range would be to anchor a VWAP from a minor high and a minor low, or a swing high, swing low, and find out where the two VWAPs kind of come into to contain price action. But I do like it. Just be aware of a little bit more volatility. And I don't know that you have a real volume edge until about $73.50. All right. So thank you for that question. Next up, hello, Dorothy. I've noticed that when a double green stock pulls back into the wave, it will go double yellow. Is this common? It doesn't always, but it's a very astute observation. It often will. Yes, I agree with you. And I don't have a problem with that necessarily. I just know that it means that the moving averages that account for the colors, the double green, the yellow, the red, those moving averages have become a little bit more entangled. All right. So let's see. Next up, Maruf mentions, good morning, US dollar. I will look at the US dollar through the euro. The euro is the largest market on the planet of any kind, Euro US more specifically. And one of the things that I'm going to be watching very carefully for dollar fatigue as it's moved higher in the range, and for potential euro support, the Euro US and the Forex, which again, largest market in the world and the largest market in the world, has gone double red, but we are testing right now the 200 period exponential moving average. Now, let's take one further step back. Look at where we are on the weekly. we are in a trending pullback. So I haven't yet said, oh, it's time for the dollar to, take off and that's it. I'm still bearish the dollar. In fact, I'm still looking for opportunities to short dollar, but not necessarily against the euro. It had been the pound, and really right now, if you want to play a dollar short, again, you've got to know the currency on the other side of the pair. Even on the future side, it's the same conversation. And the one that I like is the Canadian dollar quite a bit. So thanks for the reminder about the dollar. And if you're interested in a lot of this macro and the dollar and currencies and these longer term type plays that I play on the futures or even the stock and ETF side, you can join me in the futures room, or you can join me in simplertrading.com/sector for our sector secrets mastery. So thanks so much for the reminder there. Any thoughts on the SPAC SPQR? Gideon, I'll have to get back and I'll jot that down. I really don't. And I don't want to throw out just any old, what happened to my pen? I don't want to throw out just any old analysis on that. Gosh, I killed my pen. I don't want to throw out just any analysis there, but I will jot that down. I haven't looked at that at all. I've been kind of steering clear of the SPACs some, quite frankly. But I will take a look at that. So nudge me in the future, maybe tomorrow or the day after. Glenn, am I still bullish? Well, it depends on where. It depends on where. I know that we're going to deal with a lot of volatility. I think that where I'm most bullish is going to be, again, reflation trades. I know the reflation trade had a heck of an unwind. And again, think about a lot of portfolio managers that are going to have to take a look at financials, at energies, and they're going to be rebalancing in favor of increasing their weighting and their holdings in bonds. Is that going to hurt certain markets temporarily? Rebalancing, once we get to the most intense part of it, 1 to 2 days. The idea that energies could be hit a little bit harder is not unusual, because again, if we're thinking about the rebalancing in favor of that 10-year, and there's the yield again. If you want to look at the actual 10-year, you can pull up the ZN futures, but that shows you the contract of the futures, not the yield. So you can look at ZN, and there's the downtrend, and the yield, of course, is moving higher. All right, so what I feel usually has happened historically, this has been the case throughout my career, and I'm sure a lot of you have noticed the same thing, is that when you have the bond yield becoming a good alternative to certain types of stocks. Well, what are those certain types of stocks? And it's usually going to be dividend yielding, your aristocrats, your dividend kings, things of that nature. When you look at the XLE, you look at energy, I will be a little bit more hesitant. But where am I bullish? IYT, XLI. Check out that free video that I did for Simpler Futures at the Simpler Trading channel from last night. I think you'll get a really good breakdown of exactly where my attention is at. So thank you for the question, Glenn. Jerry asked, would I talk about my chart setting? Jerry, it's kind of involved. Some of it is code that I'm testing out right now, but just generally speaking, I've got volume profile. I've got my propulsion, grab, wave. I have some anchored volume weighted average prices. I have a custom MACD that I've used throughout my career. Most of this custom MACD was really born out of necessity from my Forex trading. I've got a tool that I created back in 2008 called the V-score, which is the standard deviation study of the volume weighted average price. So I'm looking at the Z score of a VWAP. And then finally, our JT trend flag, or in this case, it's now an indicator at the bottom of the screen that shows me the history of the relationship of the 8, 13, 21, and 34 EMAs. And that's pretty much what's on this screen. Again, I'm using TradingView. I've been using TradingView a whole lot more over the past, I've been using TradingView for crypto and Forex for many years. And I'm just using it more and more now for my futures, because TradeStation now, you can plumb in your feed from TradeStation. So now this becomes a realistic futures platform for me. And I've been, this for ETFs and stocks. It's terrific. So Yeah, and I don't get anything from TradingView. You know why I love TradingView? Because I can pull the charts up on my phone. I love that I can pull up this exact layout on my, can you guys see that? On my phone. How incredible is that? No other platform can do that. No other platform, charting platform, is going to allow you to have custom indicators that you can then track on your phone. So let's see, durable goods. Yeah, the economic calendar. Sure, we can take a pit stop there. So I use Forex Factory. There's 3 economic calendars that I recommend. Forex Factory, Trading Economics, mostly for Fed speak, although I will say Forex Factory has been a whole lot better about updating all those little minor Fed member speeches. And then going into earnings season, I will use Estimize. So why do we use this? Because there are these intense scheduled, so they're known, volatility and volume events as we're dealing with either a data release or a Fed or Fed speeches or Q&A, whatever these Fed folks do. Powell is going to be on at 10 a.m. Well, what do I call these? And this is actually going back to 20 years ago, more than 20 years ago, in my Forex trading using Forex Factory, and they've always color-coded the different events to let you know of the potential volatility and volume impact. They're yellow, they're orange, as you can see, and red. And I've always looked at them as hot zones, right? That's what I've called them. It's a hot zone right there at 10 a.m. It's a red hot zone, actually. And that's Fed Powell. And you can see right there. So if you're thinking in the beginning, Rog, how do I know if it's impactful? How do I know if it's a really high heat hot zone? Just let Forex Factory give you a heads up. This kind of analysis you'll see in a lot of calendars. They'll give you different grades for what the expected reaction is going to be. And this is a great way to understand what currency it's going to affect, what the event is, and the impact. So yeah, any event, we have core durable goods, not necessarily a high heat hot zone, right? So I hope that makes sense. But definitely one that could affect psychology, usually just not in an intense way, unless the data is very different from the expected, unless the release is that far off from the expected. Okay, so next up is, do I still like Freeport-McMoRan? I do. Copper pulled back. There's been a little bit of a temporary unwind in the reflation trade. Frankly, take away the wave for a moment and forget the grab candle colors. We've been down as low as you can see right there, $31.50 on Freeport-McMoRan. And, the issue there is, could I be a buyer even down at 31.5? I could. I really don't want to see it break the 55 exponential, which are these sort of purplish dots here. I really would prefer it to not break the VWAP anchored on the first of the year, but I do know the market could go down there. Does that make me a bear? Gosh, no. One red grab candle does break the trend, no doubt, but it doesn't turn into a trend. So remember this, one red grab candle can break a trend, but it can't make a trend. So with that in mind, what I would do is sort of transition from a trend following approach to an overbought, oversold approach. And I do like this layer here potentially for some support. If not, I can even see based on the volume and the previous low, this area between 31.50 and 31 would be the next zone of support, but that would be an oversold level. Maybe use a slow stochastic, something along that, to confirm that there's going to be some support there. TRIP. Sure. So thank you for the question on FCX. And next one is TRIP. Sure. Hey, Ganny. TripAdvisor, again, reopening stock. Here's what I would say. If we're talking about reopening stocks and airlines, very much the same type of question, my friend. The thing to remember is, again, we're probably going to see some end of month unwind. We're going to see some stocks being sold. We might see some rotation. Typically, rotation is going to go out of names that have been arguably parabolic like this one, heading higher and into names that are better value. We can call sector rotation whatever we want, but it's usually a transition from markets that have made significant moves into markets that are probably about to make significant moves. Flow is really all that matters. We can talk about the tendency for the market to follow the flow, which is probably the most accurate way to do it. Size dictates where support is. Size and participation and attention dictates the follow through from those levels. So following volume is pretty darn important. Again, reopening narrative. I like the reopening narrative around travel focused on the consumer, not business travel. And this would definitely be one of those. So I find that as long as we go into this end of the quarter, remembering volatility is going to be just, we've dealt with this at the end of every month, haven't we? But then what does the market do? It does find its way higher. Tech is still the exception for me right now, though. ZB 30. So we've gone from the 30-year on the ZN to the 10-year on the ZN to the 30-year on the ZB. I wouldn't call it rising. I mean, it's bouncing a little bit. It's probably going to be shorted into again. But I mean, it is moving up a little bit. Is this part of the rebalancing? Well, very likely, Ryan. I think it's a great observation in that if now managers, portfolio managers, fund managers, whatever, are going to be adding bonds to their portfolios, the buying of the bonds is going to do what? On the futures chart, the buying of the bonds is going to push the market up a little bit, but it's going to push yields down a little bit. All right. So that's what we have right now on the ZB. Do I still like ADM, Archer Daniel Midland? Again, a little bit of an unwind. We've got a trio of trades around this narrative, including corn and soybeans. Again, I think we're just running into what seems to be now 3 months in a stinking row, this end of month lunacy. This time, at least, it's associated with rebalancing. But there are certain parts of the market that I did not presume, although who has a crystal ball, but I did not presume that the market would be so apt to want to rally tech, which I still don't think is out of the woods yet, and unwind positions like energy and financials, which actually, with the direction of bonds, gang, we'll talk a little bit more about this either in the free video tonight, but bonds are good for financials. And then what indices benefit from strong financials? We'll talk about, that's actually a really good topic. We'll get into XLF, bond yields, and the effect on the indices. I think that could be a really interesting conversation in the free futures video tonight. By the way, if you're not getting those free futures videos, sign up for the free newsletter over at Simpler Trading. You'll get the newsletter, you'll get the free video from the options room, Fib Queen, and futures. And of course, I know you guys have checked out Countdown Trader. If you haven't, check it out. It really encompasses everything that I do on the sector secret mastery side and on the futures side. And you can check that out at countdowntrader.com. All right, gang, that's it. I'm out of time. In fact, I've run over a little bit. And as always, thank you for all the questions. I'll see you guys back here tomorrow, same time, same station. Thanks for being part of the Charts and Coffee crew. We are a growing group. I love it. Smash that like button. Thanks for being here. Be good to each other.